All right, let's start with Xavier. Hello, Xavier. You were on the line. What would you like to talk about today?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can, Xavier.
Wonderful. Well, I guess I have two things. I don't mean to start off negatively. Um, First one is your call waiting music is terrible. I hate it.
Oh, well, sadly I don't have control over that. Call waiting music is known for that, however.
Whoever does.
That's our test of your
Smooth
fortitude.
jazz, not.
That's our test of your fortitude. See who really, really wants to call.
Exactly right.
That's actually a pretty good. Yeah, okay, I get that. All right. And my name is pronounced Xavier.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Xavier. I'll make sure that I correct myself. Thank you for correcting me.
Oh, no, that's fine. I mean, most people do say Xavier, but yeah. So I called in before, and the last time I called in, it was with Forrest and Gordon.
Okay.
So I'm excited to have two new people, I guess, to talk to. The last time I called, I was a theist, and we had a conversation about why I believe the things I believe. And Forrest said something in particular. He said, it seems like you deconstructed a lot, and what's stopping me from taking those next steps? And I've just thought about it for several months. Actually, I don't know how long ago it was. It feels like forever, and also last week. But I think I did take that step despite possibly damaging my family and my relationships. My wife and I had a very scary conversation, and it's not super sure where it will go, but like what Laura said, does it matter that the things you believe are true? And I had previously always thought whatever God is out there would be a God of truth. Otherwise, I don't care about them. So I still fundamentally believe in something beyond myself. Like I just do. Like I guess there's that hope there. But I did take that next step of being like, okay, I have really no reason to believe in this theology and this doctrine, so I'm going to discard it more or less.
Okay. So are you calling because you're having kind of struggles with where that leaves you now, like what your next steps are?
Yeah, kind of, because it felt like I was just like convincing myself before to hold on to a doctrine, but now I'm running into, I genuinely do believe in something beyond, what we could prove with evidence or anything like that. So I guess my question would be, what is someone deconstructing from years of religious indoctrination and abuse? What would be the next step as far as trying to find a truth?
Well, I think Paul and I will both probably have somewhat different answers to that, but there's going to be probably a significant amount of overlap because we both had very different deconversions from very different types of faith, but both are atheists now. For me, and I think for lots of people, you go kind of through a journey. I don't think it's, well, at least for me, I can't say for lots of people, it wasn't like ripping off a Band-Aid. It wasn't that I wasn't a Christian and then all of a sudden I didn't believe in anything. I went through a journey to try to figure out if there was anything at all, because I still wanted there to be something. I knew that it couldn't be Christianity, but I wanted it to be something. The next steps for me were really kind of analyzing what my epistemology was, like why I have the beliefs that I do, like really turning inwards and saying to myself, okay, how do I form beliefs? Like, why do I believe in the things that I do? Do I have good reasons? What's behind those reasons? Is it potentially that it's purely emotional? And if it is purely emotional, why do I feel like I have this desire or requirement? Is that tied to something else? Is it potentially tied to something else that I need to address? So I had to do a lot of work, like a lot of work on myself, which was great, which was a great part of the journey. A really great part of the journey of deconstruction and deconversion for me was that I found out a lot about myself and how I view the world and how I analyze things. And I thought that that was really, really important. So I guess kind of the next step is discovering yourself through this, why you believe things, what those beliefs are tied to, like really kind of scrutinizing it. Paul, what would you think? Does that some of that resonate with you, or do you have anything additional to add?
Absolutely, all that resonates with me. I'm curious, where Xavier is, feel the trajectory as Xavier. If you are feeling like, I'm curious about this deity position, for example, and it sounds like you are holding that deistic position because you are so used to there being like a cause there that it feels like if you remove that, then that's going to be too much of a change all at once. And that's totally fine, because I feel like I could be swayed to a deistic God potentially, some kind of first mover that steps away and has left no fingerprints. But that's obviously a kind of deistic God by definition, like is far even less provable or disprovable than a theistic God, because at least some versions of a theistic God make claims about properties and that kind of things, which could be potentially falsified or shown to be contradictory. A deistic God has literally no properties. So I guess I wouldn't worry too much about trying to prove or disprove that. I don't think you need to go on an intellectual journey about your deism, if that's what you're thinking your next step needs to be. Was I reading that right, that you were worried about that part of it?
Like, I don't know if I could have articulated that, but right now I'm thinking, yeah, because I got to a point where I've discarded, I grew up Catholic and there was a cult and it was crazy. My dad's a cult leader, but
Sorry.
I used reason and logic, and I'm like, okay, it's unreasonable for a God to insist that he loves us, but also be an egotistical maniac, But when it comes to like an abstract thought of, I just feel like I cannot help but feel a connection to the idea of there's something else. Like, have you seen the film Wonka with Timothy Chalamet?
I have not yet.
Not.
It's like the prequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory or whatever. It's actually a really good movie. I highly recommend it. It's just great.
Okay.
That movie, like when I watched it, I fully expected it to be terrible, an awful cash grab, and they completely misunderstood the material. And they might have, I don't know, but it made me believe in magic, but not like, Christian magic or witch magic, like chance meetings and like the power of words and poetry and hope, which a lot of Christians try to monopolize and say, oh, only we can have themes of hope because we invented it, not that it's, just something that humans have. If I can't approach that necessarily with logic, because there's no way to really say, I'm not a scientist, I'm not like Forrest Valakai, where I'm constantly searching for the truth and finding answers and opening up boxes. I'm a handyman who fixes drywall and puts light bulbs in for a living. And I just have that have that innate hope of something greater, stitching us all together somehow. And I'm just, I guess my main concern is that unreasonable?
Would you say it's true? Would you say that it's true for you that this statement that you want to believe as many true things and as few false things as possible? Do you feel like that statement is true for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's when you take on that second, and you're under no obligation to take that on as a personal philosophy. You're no obligation. But if you do take on that second part, where you want to believe as few false things as possible, that does mean reserving judgment, reserving affirmation of such things until such time as the evidence is sufficient to warrant that belief, right? Like, so, I it's okay to, in my view, others may vary, but in my view, it's okay to, to like the idea that there might be a deistic God, or to wish that that might be true, and that would be in some way, you think that would be cool or neat, or might answer some things. It's okay to want that, but to say that you actually would go so far as to say you positively put that forth, you think you would agree you're not warranted with evidence to be able to do that. So that needs to remain in the category of not warranted to believe, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess.
As would be, and this, like the Wonka magic you speak of, while that would be amazing, and it may well be serve for you to be a metaphor of the kind of possibilities that happen when people work together, or are particularly, have certain traits that you admire, like the Wonka magic. You would agree as well, I assume, that you don't have enough evidence to warrant an actual belief in that, right?
Yeah. I guess for me, like, all right, so it's silly, but when I find an eyelash on my wife, and I have her blow it to make a wish, and she does the same with me, I genuinely try to think of something I'd like to wish for, not like a big grand thing, but a little small thing. And it's like, a part of me is like, get it silly. This is obviously not ever worked in any way, but I still do that. There's something that feels like I kind of like buying a lottery ticket, even though you're likely not going to win. But I guess that analogy doesn't work, because evidently people have won the lottery.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas,
I guess that's where I was trying to go with that, was that I feel like that having wishes or things that you rituals that or maybe you're superstitious or whatever, if deep down that they are superstitious, that you are not acting as if the eyelash wish is going to come true, if you're not making some other life decisions based on the eyelash wish,
right,
to participate in that little ritual, I don't feel like does harm, as long as you're not putting epistemology behind it, right? Like, I think you can give yourself some grace. I still often wish that I could pray, right? Like, that that there was such a utility for me in when I felt like a problem was something I couldn't handle, to call in the big guy, right? Like, there was some psychological utility in that. And I lament sometimes that that's gone.
I'm so the opposite of that. I don't wish that I could pray, because I've come to the realization that it's not a great idea to hang my hat or my hopes on something that I can have no confidence in. And it's far more productive for me to just, put my shoulders down and really like get into the problem solving aspect of things, and not have that to rely on. Like, the recognition of that hope is false, and in the absence of an intervention in like a real tangible way, or me taking action myself, it's futile. So that realization, I'm so far on the opposite end of the spectrum from that. Sorry to interrupt you. I just heard that.
Although
I'm glad I don't.
Shannon, you led to exactly where I was going, though, was it that it literally, like, it is one of those things I recognize about myself, that even though it's a lingering it's a lingering thing from my previous beliefs, it's about it's about when I'm facing what I know to be reality, I'm definitely in the same camp that Shannon is in, and it's like, well, I don't even do it out of just superstition anymore, right? Because I understand that it's not something that's helpful. But I guess where you're moving from one position to another, I wouldn't beat yourself up too much about having wishes about things, as long as you are not adopting them as beliefs to be true without warrant.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even as a theist, like, and you guys know probably just as well as any other person deconstructing that, like, it's a journey. Like, this has been like 10, 15 years in the process, you know. But I used to be pro-life, and that was like such a big issue for me, was just because I was so convinced by the argument that it's a life, you know, a life is a life. Doesn't matter. I don't care about your other arguments. And it took a while to get away from that, but the reason I'm bringing it up is the very first crack in me deciding to not be pro-life was realizing no matter how much I believe that's a life, I can't force someone to give up their bodily autonomy. This isn't about whether they're alive or not. It's about a human right for a human person. And being pro-life, anti-choice is demonstrably taking away somebody else's free will. And where was I going with that? So like, even though I for a while held on to, I'm pro-life, but like politically I'm pro-choice, and then eventually that turned into me being more open to other arguments and being like, yeah, you know what, it doesn't make sense to base reality in something that's completely possibly fictional just because I believe in it a whole lot.
It sounds like you're taking all the right steps, and it's iterative, right? Like, it doesn't happen instantaneously. You can't just all of a sudden snap your fingers and have a completely different epistemological framework and psychological disposition towards the world than you did the day before. That's why it does take years. And it sounds like you're oriented mentally in the right direction. Like, you want to focus on believing true things, being a good person, making sure you're still curating your relationships, but accumulating beliefs that are true. So, give yourself credit for that.
Okay. Well, I mean, Catholic guilt dictates that shaming myself is ingrained.
Yeah, well, you're not Catholic anymore, Xavier. You're free. You don't have to do that anymore. We do have to let you go, though. We have like myriad other calls, unfortunately, that we have to get to. It was an absolute pleasure having the conversation with you, and thank you so much for calling back. And keep checking in with us so that you can give us updates on your journey so that we know how you're doing.
I appreciate it. This call's made me feel better.
Good, Xavier. I'm really, really glad. And again, I'm really sorry I initially mispronounced your name. Thank you very much for the correction. Have a good rest of your day.
That's fine.
Right. Thanks, Xavier. Almost did it again. Bye.
Bye.
I corrected myself. I got it. Thank you, Xavier. Goodbye. All right. Good for him. Walking all the right ways on his journey, I think. Like, it's just, you can't expect too much from yourself, I think. I think sometimes when we deconvert, we expect that we're just going to be like, okay, well, it's just going to come over us like a wave and we're going to just be oriented in all the right ways. But you kind of have to like systematically kind of rebuild everything about how you perceive the world and view the world and interact with the world and emotionally register the world. And And it takes time, and you should expect it to take time. You should be kind to yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jimmy Snow. I'm the executive producer of The Line. And at night, I sneak into Matt Dillahunty's house and I trade his cereals for other cereals. He comes out and he's like, wait, these are cereals I buy, but I swear I had different cereals. Anyway, would you like to support this channel or any specific show? You can do so over on Patreon or in channel memberships. There are special tiers for special shows or for the channel at large, and it helps us expand programming as well as hopefully very soon launch it in podcast form. Now, also, if you'd like to support, you can like, you can subscribe, you can leave a comment or a super thanks, which is a special highlighted comment that you pay for. Those are fun. And, you know, screw the algorithm, go check out something over here, I suppose. Boy, I hope I can still put those icons there, because if I can't, this is going to look really stupid. I'm going to go buy some Cocoa Puffs and switch out Matt's mini wheats now.